Hey there, everybody. Editor-in-Chief Gabi here, primary host of the show. So on this episode 321, the Quadcast, starring the illustrious Mike and Dan of Sporadically Bored, and I Made You a Mixtape coming soon to Kickstarter. Link in the show notes. Check it out. It's a game they've worked on. I won't give away spoilers because Jerry is going to give his review. If you enjoyed the old call-in shows on radio where people would call in on their telephones and you would hear their voices over the telephone through the radio, you remember how that sounded? Well, have I got some nostalgia for you today? That's pretty much how everyone but me sounds in this episode because I'm using my source file because I recorded everyone and then myself separately, thinking that I would receive the other source files from the other members of the show. But when you have, 4 people all recording over Skype with different types of internet and recording mechanisms, things can go awry. And well, they did. So because of that, I'm using my side of the recording. You can understand, everyone. Nothing is lost other than a little bit of sound quality. But again, remember those call-in shows in the 80s? Everybody loves retro. This is a retro call-in show, basically. Enjoy episode 321, the Quadcast. And go.
And welcome to this is part 4, isn't it? Is it part 4? This is part 4.
This is going to be
Am I
part
loud?
4. Stop.
This is a little loud.
It's
okay.
You don't. God, I will adjust it in post. I'll adjust it in post. Now everybody knows you're extremely loud in all of our ears.
We're doing it live. We're doing it live. This is the Board Game Snobs podcast. This is Jerry. I am one of 4 because this is part 4. This is the quad episode, right?
That's true. The Quadcast.
Yes, our 4th episode related to the retreat, the Dice Tower retreat. And so there's me, I'm number 1, and then there's Gabi, you're there as well.
I'm the deuce.
And then, okay. And then we have the third individual here as well, Mr. Daniel Hughes.
Primary guest host, Daniel Hughes.
Primary guest host, that's right.
And then we have secondary star, Mr. Mike Delicio.
Paid professional podcast guest, Mike Delicio. Thank you very much. No, please, thank you. Stop. It's enough now already. I get it. Thank you. Thank you so much.
Well,
I hope you cued the clap track. That's what I call the clap track.
Clap trap or clap track?
It doesn't. Either one will work.
This is seamless. Just seen behind us. Seen behind the curtain here. It's absolutely amazing.
Well, we're going to discuss on this one because Jerry's part of the gang. I'm not part of the gang at this point.
I'm not part of the gang. That's the problem. Mike and I are too old for the gang. The gang consists of Jerry, my son, and Bruce Swearing. That's what the gang is.
Yeah. Jerry was hanging out with all the young whippersnappers, Gabi.
Yeah.
He was living vicariously through the youth, and he really. I think he fit in, Dan. Don't you? I think that they almost thought he was a man in his, early to mid 20s.
Yeah. He had those shorts on that were hanging down around his butt cheeks. He was carrying that skateboard everywhere with him.
Always a can of Prime in his hands.
Exactly. Yeah. He was swinging Prime like nobody's business.
And my God, the Prime.
Yeah.
My name is Prime.
I don't know what Prime is.
It's a drink made primarily out of plastics. I think they're currently in a lawsuit.
See?
But all the kids love it. All the kids love it. The YouTuber that boxes everybody.
Luke Cage.
Don't act like you don't know Jake Paul. Don't act like you don't know Jake Paul.
Jake Paul. It's Jake Paul's primary drink.
Gabi, let me explain something to you.
Huh?
Every third thing out of Jerry's mouth at the retreat was some kind of a quote from Jake Paul. So don't buy this.
Yeah.
It's like Jake Paul says, it's like Jake Paul says every third time. We're like, we get it, Jerry. You're on the internet. We get it.
I could only quote whatever gentle whispering ASMR might be saying in a very soft tone.
disgusts me. It really
That sounds like
disgusts
some
In her-
old people stuff.
She
Yeah.
puts me to
Yeah.
she puts me to sleep with her gentle tones. What can I say?
Nothing put me to sleep at the retreat. I had a fine time hanging out with all the young people, and we played a bunch of young people games as well. Like all the games were no stodgy Euros. I
So-
played with all the old folks.
On the previous trio cast, I don't know that we went into, because I can't remember at this point, but we're recording this sometime later. We'll start with Jerry, since he's on our show. When you first made it to the Dice Tower retreat, were you taken aback by, or impressed by, or somewhat let down by any people in particular?
Whoa! Let down. Hey!
Yow.
Or maybe
Yow.
impressed by?
Wow. He's Gabi's just fishing right now. You can
I
see he's
know.
already slowly. He's just teasing you with the reel right now. He's
I'm
just giving you
afraid
a
to
little
say
bit of
anything. I'm
yeah.
afraid to say anything because he'll get a sound bite, and then that'll be spread about to all the
Well,
other.
Did you
welcome to my world. Excuse me. Welcome to my world. There's no one does what Board Game Snobs do better. They are almost professional level comedians.
Did you embrace Daniel when you saw him? That's my question.
He
I sure
did.
did. Yes,
did.
immediately. I was laying on the couch at our
Right.
hotel room.
Yes, and we walked through the door, and he leapt up, and he covered his nakedness, and he hugged me, and his blanket fell down, and his full glory was exposed. It was,
Did he-
I
It
thought
was
the
a sight
leg
to-
humping was a little extreme.
yeah,
the leg humping was a little bit
too much.
extreme.
Yeah. No,
He likes
I
to
was
get-
expecting no physical
He
contact.
likes
I
to get
thought he
his
was.
scent on
I thought
you.
he was a no contact guy like me, but no, he's up.
No.
He's hugging.
No,
He-
no.
he-
If I detect that somebody is a no contact person, I typically go in for the contact. I like to embrace and that kind of established dominance type thing.
Exactly. Slipped his
Yep.
hand down the back of my trousers.
Yep.
It was.
Yeah, I gotta tell you, in these times, you're right in step with the times, Jerry. You definitely you know what is considered to be acceptable behavior nowadays.
Well,
No,
well,
it was nice. It
The hug
nice.
was
I
consensual.
it was semi-consensual. I didn't push him off me anyway. Let me put it
yeah.
that way. So
If
that's fine.
if two middle-aged men can't embrace each other at a board game convention, what is this country coming to? That's what I say, and that's
Yes,
that's just the way I feel about it.
Does
And so
Dan
there you
snore?
go.
That's another question. Does Dan snore?
Yes.
Oh wow! Was
Slightly.
it that? Well, it was more than slightly. You were in a different room. That's
Well, no,
the door closed.
Because the way that the room was segregated, the bathroom was in Dan's side of the room, and there was a couple times where I was very worried that I was going to wake Dan up. So there's one morning where I crept in there, took a shower, and I'm like, I hope I'm up early. I hope I didn't wake him up. But as I'm leaving, I hear the distinct sound of Dan struggling to maintain his airway,
Yeah.
and thought, okay, he's still asleep. I got out of this without waking him up. Then I snuck
Now,
out.
I don't know if you're aware of this story, Jerry, because I'm not sure I've actually mentioned it to you at the time. I think Mike and I know what you're talking about. So I was woken in the middle of the night by somebody talking, and it sounded like somebody talking on the phone. But it was a two-way conversation, and I thought, is Jerry going to sleep to the sound of him and his wife recorded telephone calls? And I thought,
He messaged me this, Jerry. He messaged,
Yeah.
this is so sweet. I think that Jerry fallen asleep to audio recordings of him and his wife talking. And I was like, I learned something new about Jerry every day.
Yeah.
Besides all the
How-
things I learned about Jake Paul, now I'm finding out about this bedtime routine.
and we both went, how sweet. I would never have expected that. It's not something that occurred to me, but now I think of it. What a lovely way to fall asleep to old recordings of you.
Yes.
And then Jerry came through about half an hour later. Said, did you hear those two people talking outside? What a bunch of
Donkey orifice.
You're gonna have.
Oh my God.
Look now, you're.
Well,
Yep,
look,
Jerry's
you've
bleeping right
ruined.
now.
you've-
You got to
my
bleep him
camera
now.
went out.
You
gotta
ruined-
bleep him.
you-
Dan is
I know.
just
That's another thing.
bucket worth of profanity.
Jerry's like, Dan is so vulgar in real life. Like, it's just hard to even talk to him.
me and Evan were trying so hard not to swear because of the dice tower. It almost made me burst a few blood vessels in my eyes. I'm surprised I haven't got little little blood spots in my eyes. Is Jerry okay? Is he falling?
I'm all right. My camera.
His
I got to hook my other camera up. I got my professional camera.
did
Hang on.
Right.
Well, let me tell you just a little more of the seeing how the sausage is made for the listeners out there. I know it's always fascinating stuff. Jerry, oh my Lord, I don't know what's happening now with this camera. Jerry, when he came on, he had one of these Time Life operators. Now, see, I'm aging myself, but like one of those gamer console things where you've got the little mic in front. And to say that his mic was hot would be like saying, you know, the Mauna
sun
Loa
is-
volcano is hot.
yeah, the sun is warm.
Yeah, it was slightly hot, and then we went through varying degrees of him removing his mic as far away from his face as possible. Then I don't know if you two noticed this. He basically turned off all the lights in the room, and so we had just like this little mood lighting. And so I thought, oh wow, now Jerry's getting into the mood for this podcast, and now I got nothing but oh my.
It's
We're
very,
here.
very atmospheric. Very atmospheric there.
And now
Well, hey, my
that's
there
good
you go.
framing, Jerry. There we
It
go.
is
Thank
strange.
you.
18 feet above your
looks,
head.
He looks like he's 2 years old sat at his dad's desk.
You do
Hey.
realize that's what his Facebook avatar looks like too. It's just like you can see his eyes and above. You notice that?
Jerry,
Oh,
Jerry,
I'm
does
not
your
used on
does your
Facebook, so I don't
microphone
see.
move?
Yes, it's a gamer's one. I can put it up here.
Put it up. Put it. There you go.
Is that good?
It's still
No.
loud.
Well,
Put it
well,
up
Can I-
higher. Put it up higher.
Okay, just back here. Is that good?
That's too far.
Is that good? Like, what is this?
There you
What
go.
am I
Oh,
doing?
there you go. That's better.
leave it there. Leave it there.
that's good.
This is
That's gold.
smooth product right here. Smooth
Yes.
product. And we're talking about the Dice Tower retreat once again. So Jerry,
We got one question out, guys.
okay,
Got
so
one question out.
did
Okay, the thing
you
you
said
asked
you
if
had an
anything
American
disappointed
side and an English side is what I got out of that. Did the English side colonize the American side at any point? What did they do?
No, like I said, I established dominance. I ate their Lucky Charms, number one, to show that I was. They offered. Evan said that I could utilize their milk, which I did.
They are magically delicious.
They were magically delicious. But I also went to the same CVS and bought a box of adult cereal, frosted wheat, to
Don't
establish.
say what they are if they're adults. Frosted something.
They're
Okay, keep
frosted adult wheat. Everybody
I
likes
even-
wheat.
There was even more. No, because I had cornflakes, which are even more adult than frosted.
I didn't even the cornflakes. You know how why cornflakes were invented, right?
I do, and we've already had this discussion on this
Okay.
podcast.
On this very
Now,
going. Dice
podcast.
Tower
Strange.
retreat and 2, 1, go.
But anyway, so I established dominance by eating their Lucky Charms and some of their Twizzlers. And so yeah, I mean but you know the atmosphere was quite friendly in our room, in our yeah. It
So,
went well.
Dan,
It was
Dan,
good.
was
I
nice.
enjoyed myself.
were you
It was-
anxious
you
to be
were-
in a room with Jerry, Dan?
I was petrified to be in a room with Jerry. All the scare stories you've told me, and yet Jerry is not only a southern gentleman, but a raconteur, a wit. There was only one point around 2:30 in the morning when he was telling me about cows, I think it was, that I thought, do you know, I wish Jerry would leave my room at this point so I can go to sleep. That was only once.
Yeah. It was an odd. It was I had walked into their room to brush my teeth.
Yeah.
And Dan was laying nude in his bed. And I noticed, like, as I walked in, he kind of pulled the covers up over his bare chest. And I thought, well, this is awkward. I should say something to make him feel more comfortable.
Yeah, but the
So
thing
I-
you said lasted an hour, Jerry.
Yeah, it did. I talked
He's-
for quite some time about a calf that we're bottle feeding.
He's a
and I don't
talker.
know why I thought that was appropriate. And it
He's a
just,
real
yeah,
talker.
I just didn't leave. I hovered at the foot
Something
of Dan's
about-
bed.
Something about my presence made you think of others, and who knows what it was.
I don't know, but had an utterly ridiculous conversation with him in the middle of the night. But there you go.
2:00 in the morning.
Well-
But no, I'm only joking because as I say, Jerry, I enjoyed every moment of Jerry's company, and he was incredibly kind to both me and Evan, and it was lovely.
You would never know it from this recording, but Jerry was very charming, very nice in person, and I don't want to ruin his reputation on this podcast, but he's a genuinely nice person. I don't think he's at Gabi level, but
No.
he's much more of a lovely human being than he might choose to present himself as from time to time on media.
Maybe it's me. Maybe I bring out the worst in him.
Well, I must
don't know.
admit, Gabby, whenever I'm with you, my bullying side comes out, and I just want to.
I draw out the bullying people for
You
some
draw out the
reason.
bully. You're just a natural victim. That's your problem.
It's that sense of there's blood in the water. You just go after it immediately. I don't know what the deal is.
And I still keep
Not
coming
me,
back.
Gabby. I'm not one of the barbarians.
And I appreciate that about
Protect you,
you.
Gabby.
Look
Thank
at
you,
this
Michael.
sensitive, vulnerable adult, just eager for love.
I just
respect,
want
understanding.
love. I just want love. Okay, so Jerry, the Dice Tower retreat. How did you feel about the Dice Tower crew in general?
I have ranked them. I did a top 10 and I'll rank them from one.
Great.
No.
He did. I was there when he anointed
I believe
his
it.
number one, and let me tell you, Mike DeLisio wasn't there when he anointed.
I wasn't expecting to be there. I was not expecting to be there.
Well, I did have an interesting experience with the Dice Tower crew, with just about every one of them. Of course, me and Mike, we played. Is it Zuvadis? I can't say that. Zuvadis.
Vadis, yeah.
Vadis. Played that, which became kind of a hit for us.
I played it twice.
Yes, I think I
Okay,
actually
sure.
ended up playing it a third time without you. And it
Right,
was,
yeah. Just knew twice together we played it. Yeah,
Is it Darth
Yeah.
Vader or is it Darth Vader? That's what I say.
yeah.
Well,
At one
it's
point, I was playing it, and Jerry wasn't playing it, and he still came to the table and bullied everybody at the table.
That checks out. That checks out.
Despite the fact he had no, he was manipulating us all. I'm like, Jerry, you're not even playing. You can't win. So please, God, leave us alone.
I'm usually the most provocative player at any table of Zuvadis. In the very much in that sense of the word of provocative, but I couldn't every time I was with Jerry.
Hmm.
Jerry always found a way to make the entire table
Mhm.
go against him. I don't know how he did it. But,
Evan described him in our podcast that we recorded yesterday, and that will probably have been out already before this one, as a parasitic brain amoeba, is what he said it was.
yes.
well, that's accurate when it comes to these negotiation games.
Yeah.
I love.
He said
I
you
love
were a
it.
shark, but Jerry was a parasitic brain amoeba who got into your brain and made you do thing. He was that. What's that thing that cats get? That they catch off rats.
Toxoplasm gondii.
Yeah. So
Yeah.
It was toxoplastic.
Yeah, that's that toxoplasm when that's when it aerosols out of their litter box and you breathe it in, and pregnant women causes them to go crazy. Yeah,
Yeah.
miscarriage.
Terrible.
And it makes
Yes.
Gabi,
cats, doesn't it?
have you ever played Zuvadis, Gabi?
We have not. No, I have not. No.
Are you a negotiation game?
No.
Then stay far away. Stay far away. Okay, I love it.
Yeah, I can't get what I need from Gabi in terms of negotiation. I have to go elsewhere. It's anytime I'm at a
Bubba's the fellow negotiator, but he, of course, is hard to round up. So yeah.
That's the only game I play that way. Like literally the only game in existence where I play aggressively and will try to, push my points across and double talk. And for some reason, that's the only game where I feel comfortable doing it.
I was going to say, does the aggression derive from the fact that you feel that you're good and that makes you confident and therefore more aggressive?
I don't think that I win it more than 50% of the time. I don't always. No, I think it's that. You know what it is, Gabi? In a lot of negotiation games. No, because I hadn't really thought about it till you asked.
Okay.
In a lot of negotiation games, you're working within a much more structured framework. And so I'm worried more about following the rules of negotiation. There really are almost no rules of negotiation in this game. Pretty much everything is up for grabs. And so to me, that gives me this freedom to think outside the box, to almost anything I can find some way to offer them something, whether it's a good deal or a bad deal. It's my job to make it sound like it's a good deal. You see what I'm saying?
So is it more?
Not a lot of rules to get in the way.
Is it more so than, I mean, Jerry's favorite one of that's been Chinatown or whatever the re-theme is now.
Waterfall Park.
Yeah, it is. Yeah, it is. It is very much more freeform than that because all you're doing is just you're negotiating with other people, trying to get their vote so you can move up. And I mean that really, it's one of those games similar to like
What's the one with the people in the boat that fall out of the boat?
Lifeboat.
Like, there wasn't much to that other than keep me in the boat, right?
I think there's a little bit more rules to that, but no, Zuvadis is really the rules are so simple, and it is just whoever wins, you get the feeling you let them win. Like
Right.
they
Right.
yeah, that's basically the end of it. Nobody at the end of the game, it's not like, oh, if you snuck this by us. No, you well know that you allowed this person to win.
Mhm.
And the little rules that Reiner did on this, for instance, you have a special power, but you can't use it. You can only allow other people to use your power. That's another neat little twist.
Yeah.
That makes it to where everybody wants you to negotiate with you to use your power, and you can give it away, type thing. But so yeah, it's a fascinating game, but it is just. I used to say Chinatown was just pure distilled negotiation, but Zuvadis is it's more so. There's even less rules.
So would that
But
be,
yeah.
you raved about ARX. You were telling me a lot about Zuvadis because you got to play that with Mike several times and enraged Mike, perhaps, maybe a little bit. I don't know.
It was a strange combination of rage and admiration and disappointment and disgust, and it was like all of those things wrapped into one. It's like it drove me crazy that his nonsense was working. And I had to give it to him because it was working, and I'm like, are you kidding me? I'm like, because we'll be playing a 4 or 5 player game, and I'm like, am I the only one? There's 3 other people at this table that don't see that the Emperor's got no clothes here. What is happening? So yeah, that's but again, I had to give it up to him because he was able to get some of those things through where I'm just like, you all are crazy, telling the other people at the table.
There's nothing better than having a lot of chaos and to where people just
Yeah, he was an
don't
agent of
quite
chaos
understand.
in that game.
Well, I think
Well,
generally I'm the agent of chaos in the sheer fact that I don't ever know what I'm doing. So it's like you have Jerry who knows, usually he knows what he's doing. So therefore he's, vying for the lead. Then you have someone that's worse than me, but somehow I've fumbled my way into the middle spot that people need and or want. And so I become just like in Survivor, if you've ever watched Survivor, these reality shows where it's like, okay, you got the person that's clearly in the lead. They're manipulating people. Then you have the one person, they can go either way. And they can influence the game that way. And that's generally the route I take because negotiation is, I'm weak. I'm not good with words. I don't even know what to say. Like, I don't even know my own worth in those games generally.
Yeah. So I would stay away because we had, I won't talk too much more because we've been spending a lot of time on Zuvadis, but we had one game where it was their first time playing and they came in and said, oh, I'm really good at negotiation games. This will be great. And within 5 minutes, they were almost in tears at the table. So it's just, yeah.
But I enjoy watching people that are good at it. Like I enjoy watching, the Jerrys and the Mike Delicios of the world, or the Bubbas. They just go at each other. And oftentimes because of that, I prevail because you're tearing
this
each
isn't
other
that kind
down.
of game usually.
Okay. Well, and then in that case,
this
I will.
game takes that element out, which is why I like
I'm
it even
out,
better.
100%
Yeah.
out.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's not one of those games where the 2 alpha dogs can go at each other and then you can sneak by unnoticed. There's no sneaking in this game.
No.
Everyone knows because you're not doing anything without other people allowing you to do it.
Well,
Yeah, in my ranking of Dice Tower people, Mike is in my top
Yes.
3, by the way.
Wow, thank you.
Yes.
I'll take that.
I noticed you didn't say top 2 though.
No,
That's
top
telling.
3. Top 3.
I know, that's what I'm saying.
Well, Jerry,
That's what I'm saying.
You're in my top 3 of board game snobs as well. So
See,
there you go.
It worked out just fine.
So along those lines then, was there any particular, people when they go to Gen Con and they go to Origins, they talk about food. Is there anything at Dice Tower Retreat food-wise to look forward to?
Yes, there's all the resort food there that you can eat at the expense, which is actually quite good. or there's the CVS and the pizza place across the street that for $7 you can get 2 New York slices and a Coke, and that you can do that.
Are they really
But we-
New York slices?
Yes, they are.
I like
We
New York
went-
pizza.
I didn't test them. I can't say. What were you gonna say, Dan?
Well, we didn't stay on the resort, Mike and I. We went out and hobnobbed with various people. We were doing
With the
some hobnobbing.
glitterati
Yeah,
and
baby.
Jerry.
Yeah.
So now speaking of that, I don't know that I asked you this, Jerry, at the time, but we wanted to take Dan and Evan to a barbecue place, right?
Mm.
Clearly, Orlando's not necessarily going to be like, if you could pick one place to take someone for barbecue, it wouldn't be Orlando. But I thought we found a pretty decent place. But you live in Texas, right?
Right, close
And
to it. Yeah.
So, well, Oklahoma and Gabi lives in Texas. Yeah. So, but that's a big part of the culture there in that general area, I would say. How did you feel that this held up? Was it something that was at least somewhat a good?
It was above
introduction
average.
to-
It was above
good.
average. I thought I was not expecting anything from it, but yeah, it was certainly above average.
I had a nice
Florida,
sausage.
yes, you did, and that barbecue was decent as well. And so it was one of those.
Mhm.
It was decent. It's certainly nothing, from Austin, Texas, but I mean, it wouldn't.
Right.
But for Florida, yeah, it went. It was well. It was pretty good.
But there's nothing nearby, Gabby, unless you have the resort food, which is expensive. And I don't know, it was nice because it was expensive.
It is good.
Um,
It is good.
In Florida, they smoke their barbecue with meth and bath salts.
Correct. And so it gives it a particular tang that you can you can pick it out. But Dan doesn't know any better
That's true.
because he's
Oh.
not familiar. So he didn't get that tang that's a little different. Although he is missing 3 teeth, so he is getting some of the benefits.
There you go.
of
You're getting
of
there.
that, at least.
Was it barbecue?
I am missing 3 teeth.
You
You're
are?
right. Just near the
Says the
back.
trip?
So yeah. No, so, well, yeah. Who knows? Who knows? It was a trip. They could have fallen out in anticipation of coming to Florida. That's how strong the vibes are.
What resort
Yeah.
is this at?
The Royal Carib,
The Carib Royale.
They didn't.
or the Carib Royale.
Where's the
You say
rest
it
of the
back.
letters?
Royal Carib. It sounds like either Robin Leach. I'm at the Royal Crib. No. Anyone know Robin Leach? I'm like my references are like way
You're-
lifestyles of the rich and
wow.
famous. I'm standing on a beach with Spuds McKenzie and I don't know why.
Next, you'll be talking about Riptide.
Rip Torn?
No, Riptide, the TV show. You remember that?
I do
Wow,
vaguely. Wasn't it your
wow.
no, Burn Notice was Dan's show. Okay.
What about
Yeah, Burn
Street
Notice.
Hawk? Do you remember Street Hawk? The Night Rider of motorcycles?
Vaguely, yeah. I do.
I could sing
I
you
do
the
remember
theme
that.
song.
Go ahead.
That's
Airwolf.
Oh, that might be Airwolf.
That's Airwolf.
That's
Yeah.
every.
That's
Yeah.
that's the Spy Hunter video game you're doing right there. The arcade.
Automan. What about
Um,
Automan? Anyway, go on, carry on.
Is that the British Fast and the
I
Furious?
think that's
No,
British.
Automan.
Yeah, we-
Automan was like a Tron ripoff. He could change into a car or a motorbike, all sorts of stuff. He was a
So
like
it was
Manimal, but
Transformers?
with motor vehicles.
Was
No.
it like Cop Rock with robots?
Like Space Precinct.
It's Animorphs, but with cars. Sounds like.
Gabi, I'm
Okay.
so sorry.
No,
I'm
I'm
so
glad
sorry.
y'all
I can
are
just see
y'all
the
are all
disappointment
y'all are
in your
all
eyes.
no. It's let's say y'all all got to go to Dice Tower together. I'm very happy for you. All right, so that really told me nothing about the Royal Carib.
There,
Like,
we
did they,
said
could
there was food there. The Crib Royale.
okay.
Or yeah, there's food there. You'll like it. I enjoyed
That
it.
sounds like a
There's a
James
swimming
Bond
pool.
movie.
There's a swimming pool
It's a-
that's got very, very loud music.
Loud like reggaeton music. Like, boom,
Ooh, I love reggaeton.
Well,
Makes
there
me
you
feel
go.
like I'm in
Everyone
Fast and
loves reggaeton,
Furious.
It's a huge step up from the location in Miami. Now, I like Miami better than Orlando. And the hotel in Miami was orders of magnitude worse than the Carib.
You
And
had a
you've
mall.
got to take your cheap Britishness out of it for a moment. We're just talking about the quality of the location,
Yeah, the quality of the location.
actual physical grounds, right? Now, there's so much more to do in Miami unless you want to go to Disney, and then you got Orlando. But other than Disney and other amusement parks, it's pretty bereft of a lot else to do. Where in Miami, you've got the beach, You've got Little Havana. You've got a whole lot of cultural stuff you can do. You don't have that in Orlando, but the physical buildings, the place you're staying, the place you're gaming is much better in the Carib.
It is better. It's more expensive, but it's better.
It is, yes.
And he paid those prices.
I did.
Mhm.
There you
I had
go.
I had to get a vagabond in to subsidize the cost of my room.
Well, and it worked out, didn't it? It worked out.
did.
Don't talk about Evan that way. All right.
That wasn't a subsidy. He was a financial drain. That boy.
He eats a lot, doesn't he? Yeah.
He eats a lot. He cost me money on the plane. I had to fly him over there. A nightmare. Absolute nightmare.
Do you fly directly from I don't
Manchester,
know,
yes.
Manchester to Orlando?
Yes, it's direct flight. 9
Oh,
hours.
that's nice. That's not too
8
bad.
hours on the way back because it's downhill.
Yeah, it's not bad. It's really not a bad flight.
No, it's good. It's good. Got straight through customs this time as well, despite us smuggling about 20 tons of Twizzlers on the way home. So that was impressive.
You're on a list.
Yeah.
You're on a
Jerry,
list.
we have you're on a Twizzler list. We have some marmalade that was shipped to us over there. Matt Coleman sent marmalade straight from England. Dan, are you a marmalade eater?
I do like marmalade. I do.
And I know
Is marmalade
I
a
think
purely English thing? I would have thought you'd have marmalade
here,
there.
but I think Paddington leads the way. Paddington Bear leads the way in eating marmalade. And we were talking about it some many episodes ago, and a listener said they're going to send us some marmalade, and it came in the mail. I forgot to acknowledge that. I should message him and say that because it's been a couple weeks now. One of them was opened,
But you really should.
but
One of them was
Was it
opened?
one of them was opened. The jar was popped, but my wife taste tested it for me, and she said it was okay.
Okay.
Had he sent it
survived,
opened
so-
or had customs opened it?
Right. Had
They could've
customs
tested
had a
it.
crumpet sitting around. You know,
Yeah.
they just had their crumpet sitting around there. They're just waiting for a jar of
Marmalade on
marmalade to come.
crumpets, you idiots.
Oh, you have marmalade on crumpets. Don't you tell
don't.
me.
Marmalade is a
If
brown
you have
toast.
What is a crumpet?
if you have beans on toast, you
Crumpet
can have
is like an
crumpets and
English muffin, but
marmalade.
breadier.
Got holes in it.
Oh,
Yeah.
it's English muffins. What we call an English muffin.
It's it's an English muffin, but it's much breadier. It doesn't have as many nooks and crannies. It's
No,
like,
no, I need the crannies.
you need it has
Yeah.
little holes.
Trumpets
That-
have holes in them.
Dan, if you've seen an English muffin, there's a stark contrast in the
The
amount
Gaping,
of,
gaping crannies.
yes, gaping
That's a great
crannies
band
and
name.
nooks
Gaping
galore.
crannies, the gaping
But,
crannies.
Podcast. Some of this
Opening
podcast
for
is my
Snake
son
Rectum.
listens to it, and I can't say everything I want to say. English or muffin.
Gaping crannies, you say?
Gaping crannies.
Huh?
I said I think we found the name for this episode.
Yeah, that's correct. Yeah, no. Crumpets have the little holes, but the English muffin has much less surface area of bread.
Mm.
See what I'm saying?
Yeah,
It's much
yeah.
more almost crusty than a crumpet is. I prefer
makes
crumpets to be clear, but they're very different. Now let me ask you, gentlemen, while Dan is trying to find some obscure reference on the internet that backs up his point. Would you say that in the United States that this is the correct hierarchy for spreads? Number one, the most popular. I'm not saying the best. The most popular, jelly.
When you said
Number two,
spreads, I was going butter.
Jam.
Okay.
No, I'm referring to fruit spreads. Jelly, then jam, and then a distant third would be marmalade.
I don't know. Marmalade's not in the. I mean, that's more of like a preserve type thing, isn't it?
Well, but
Jelly
it's-
and jam.
it serves a
Jam
similar
is-
purpose.
Yeah.
What's the difference between jelly and jam? I thought jam was jelly.
No.
No, there's
No.
a huge difference.
No.
Jam
No.
has
I don't know
One's
if
made
you
from
have
the
jelly
juices.
in
One's
you.
made from the fruit.
Correct.
Ah, right. Okay.
Yeah, jelly's
So-
made from the juice. Jam has bits of fruit in it.
Got you. Okay, that makes sense. Like
And then
the
marmalade usually has like the candied peel.
The rind.
Not even candied, just the rind. Yeah.
No, they're not candied. They're just reduced. I've made marmalade, and it was magnificent. So,
Like when
Would you agree with that ranking of popularity, though, gentlemen?
Yeah.
where does lemon curd come in?
We don't have it.
I don't even know what that is.
We also don't have clotted cream here either.
Well, more fool you.
We
I do like the clotted cream.
we stay away from
These
all things
all
clotted.
sound like good single tracks for
They do.
for gaping crannies or a band.
Yes.
What was I say it was?
Clotted
Yeah,
cream by Gaping Grannies coming at you.
You're very close to the danger zone there, but yeah.
No, we're good. We're good.
Gaping crannies is
If I was
So
reasonable.
Could we form a band? Garby's obviously the singer.
Okay.
Now, can you play a musical instrument, Jerry?
I cannot.
Oh.
You can do.
Right,
I can
You
play
do
the guitar. I'm learning the
You
guitar.
can do the
currently.
guitar.
I
And
could
I
probably
can-
do the drums.
Jerry can do the cowbell.
That'd work.
Yeah. What would you play, Dan?
Well, I can play a multitude of instruments very badly. I can play the ukulele. I can play the accordion very badly. I can play the piano. No, I can't play the piano. I used to be able to play the piano.
If you play
So,
accordion, we're
yeah.
going to go polka then. We're a polka band.
Yeah, we'll have a polka band called the Gaping Crannies. It's
Yeah,
it's a deal.
I think Tom plays piano, but I don't think we're getting him in a band called the Gaping Crannies. So that dream is over.
No, I've got a friend
I think we
called
should do it.
Anal Beard, but still.
You've mentioned that a time or two.
I know, it amuses me. That's right.
Yeah.
So if there was
That's,
one thing, you know, from the outsiders looking in that aren't able to go to the Dice Tower retreat.
Don't try to
let me
get
see.
back on topic,
Hold on.
Gabby.
Let me see.
I know.
Okay, yeah.
No, go ahead, Gabby.
What was the
Listen
one
to the
thing?
bully.
That's the question.
I was
So
just
we can-
saying,
we can
if
at
there's-
least make fun of it.
If there's one thing that differentiates Dice Tower Retreat, aside from the fact that the cult following of the people that are into the Dice Tower can be, you know, rub elbows with the Dice Tower, what would you say to attract people to it?
I can tell you this one because I've talked about it on our podcast as well. Now, the unique
So he can
thing
just
about-
recycle old material. Go ahead. Yeah.
yeah, which is basically all we do anyway. The unique thing about the Dice Tower Retreat, and the thing that is the best about it and the worst about it, is that guest list, because it's such a reoccurring cast of characters, and it's happened over a number of years. Everybody appears to know everybody. It's like a very large gaming group rather than a convention. So you walk in, I mean, I've only been twice, and I'm walking along and then, how you Dan, all that kind of stuff. And they get people you've played games with last year, and people kind of stand up, leave games, walk around and go and get in other games. So it's kind of very community. It feels like a real community, and it feels like a bunch of people, about 300, 400 people who know a lot of other people in that room. And there's also something called cross-pollination of groups and things like that. The bad thing about that is because that guest list is quite closed, because basically if you've been once, that means you can go again, and so it's quite hard to get in there. It means it almost feels a little bit exclusatory, and so it's hard for people to come. So I don't think Tom would want to attract anybody to it, because all that means he's going to have to turn loads of people away.
Mm-hmm.
So its smallness and its community is its benefit, and it's also its downfall, because it can feel a bit. It doesn't feel cliquey while you're in there, but I can certainly see why it would feel cliquey if you weren't there, for example.
What Dan is saying, Gabby, is stop talking about it. We don't need anybody else getting on that way. No. But no, that is true. It is very nice that it's. I think I've played. I was going through the list. I know I played at least 25 different games. I think I played like in total 30 actual plays, or somewhere in the 30s, or maybe even closer to 40. I think I only taught 2 games while I was there because of the atmosphere of it, of everybody just kind of teaching games and being there. And as soon as you get up from a game, you're in another one. And so it was even more so than BGG. Like the library was nice. That was the thing that kind of took me there, was Tom talking about the Dice Tower library and how he felt like it was, that's the best library. And I was like, oh no, BGG's is pretty good. And it's hard to compare the two, because yes, I think the BGG library, I think what they bring to BGG, it's of the same size. I don't know. Tom's might have been bigger, but Tom's collection was of games. I would notice not only were they tend to be games, they're all good games, and they'd all been deluxeified. They all had the upgraded pieces and a little board box thong thing over the top of them to keep it from coming out. And so it's like, the BGG library might have been bigger, but Tom knows how to use his. It was nice. It was really, he had just everything. Yeah, curated. It was
It's just,
Yeah.
yeah, that's like his thing. He's very proud of. So he definitely takes a lot of time in deciding what's going to keep, what's going to be brought in,
Right.
all of those types of things. And sometimes there'll be like trial periods. It's like, well, this is new. This is relatively hot, but it's not going to get a permanent spot until I see how it does over a couple of conventions, those kinds of things. And just a couple of things I wanted to add, but not too much. One is that you brought up this idea, Gabi, and I completely understand why, of like, hey, here you've got this group of Dice Tower fanatics. And it doesn't really feel like that because we are so approachable at the retreat. It's not like some big velvet curtain you know what I mean? It's like we're just there playing with people. Like there's not any real, we're not at a booth. We're not at a this, we're not at that. Now, obviously, most of the people that are there are fans of the Dice Tower because that's how they found out about it. But it really is much more like Dan said. It's like a big gaming group and we're just somebody that's in that group. You know what I mean? It's not like I'm signing autographs there like I am at other cons. I'm not even taking that many pictures like I am at other cons because it's just a different vibe. And, Jerry was his first time and you seem to kind of just slide right in there and have no problem, getting in with a bunch of different groups of people.
Just like an amoeba. Once I was
Yeah,
there, and
brain
Yeah.
eating amoeba. Yeah.
But yeah,
And the other thing is because these people have been there for 5 years or whatever, keep going every single year. The novelty of seeing the Dice Tower people wandering around as well and truly worn off, and you can just stench the entire, feel the stench of the entitlement amongst them. So but maybe they're actively, unless the Dice Tower people are actively avoided, really.
Correct. Yeah.
Well,
Because of our explosive bouts of violence at tables. I think that's really what it is. But
right.
all right. Well,
the only thing it's missing is you, Gabi. That's the only thing the Dice Tower Retreat is missing.
As I texted Gabi, it was great, but it'd been greater if he was there. But he also shouldn't feel too.
Maybe
left
it
out,
wouldn't be. That's what I'm concerned about. What if I show up and it's worse?
No. What I'm saying, don't be daft. What I'm saying, just because it was enjoyable.
Like the whole
It was
time
great.
Jerry's just raging and cussing everyone out and mad at me. I'm like, oh, okay, it is me. I'm the problem.
But it was
No,
still only a con. It was still only a con, Gabi, with the same problems at cons where you're feeling like you should be enjoying yourself more because you've travelled all that way and you're tired and you get one last game in and all that kind of stuff. That stuff all happened as well. It wasn't all
I
sunshine
didn't have
and
that.
roses.
I had
Well, I did.
Jerry could. I'm serious. Jerry was like 7 days retreat game nonstop. Text me. What are you doing Monday? Labor Day. Like he's ready to go. Like this guy's a machine. I'm like, even at BGG, I show up late. I leave early. I'm like, I'm done. I'm kind of good, Jerry. But Jerry's just like game. He loves it. I don't have that passion in my heart that Jerry does, but his passion inspires me. And so I like to, but also along these very lines, at the point of this recording being published, roughly 3 to 4 weeks ago, speaking of getting excited and, the feeling and all this stuff of, being there, we went to a 21 Pilots concert, me, Sharday, and another friend of ours, and we got tickets in the pit or ground floor where, in the old days of Metallica, there might be some moshing going about, but, moshing is not, 21 Pilots is not a moshing band. They're, anyway, that's neither here nor there to my point. Sharday this is her favorite band. If you did not know her, you would think she's on drugs because she's so excited to go to see this band. All day long, just buzzing. Couldn't sleep that night, just excited. She comes to me, she's like, "Are you not excited?" And I've expressed this before. I'm like, I don't get excited for things anymore. Like, I remember, Dan, I don't know if you're familiar with Six Flags. It's a roller coaster park. I don't know if you want to know what roller coasters are in England.
Yeah, we just have normal trains and we just call that a day.
Trains up a hill, you might call them. I don't know what you call them. So here it's a roller coaster park. They got rides and all stuff. And when I was 17, my God, like it was, you couldn't get me more excited. Going to my friend's house to play football, you couldn't get me more excited. I just got excited about everything. And it's just like, you know, I don't have that anymore. It's not in me. I don't know if my wife told me, I had this discussion with her. She's like, I think it's just age. She's like, my father's 88 years old. I don't know that he really experiences much joy anymore. It's just like, you know, you're happy to wake up in the morning.
Just bowel movements and Matlock.
Right.
Yeah.
You're happy to wake up in the morning and, you know, oh, I'm alive. All right, let's continue the day and, you know, eat some pudding. It's like,
I can relate to what you're saying in a general sense, Gabi, because I'm just using amusement parks as that example that you did. I'm the same way. Like, if I'm going to get enjoyment in an amusement park, it's going to be because I'm with people that I care about and they're having a good time, right? And I'm kind of like experiencing that enjoyment with them. I can't go on a lot of the rides I used to be able to go on. Now I get motion sickness. I never had it before. I have it now. I think it's a symptom of aging. But the one thing that I would push back on that you said, and I hope that you're wrong about this, is that you said you're not capable of it anymore. I doubt that highly. I think that you maybe have not tapped into it in a while, or you have put up some barriers within yourself. And I'm projecting onto you. Let's just go with that. I'm projecting onto you. I know that I've put up barriers on myself in my life that have caused me to not enjoy things I used to enjoy. But it's been cyclical. Like, to me, back when I was in a teenage, young 20s, live music was like every weekend and usually several times a week. When I was living in Northern California, I would go to shows, and just that brought me immense joy, right? I still tend to listen to the same type of music, which right now or recently I've had trouble going and enjoying. You know what I mean? Because I feel like, gosh, am I getting too old for this? A concert on a Wednesday? Are you insane? I don't want to go out on a Wednesday night. Are you kidding me? It ends at 11? Oh my God, come on. You know what I mean? It's like, I want Ministry to be playing on Friday at 4 p.m. I'm back home by 7. You know what I mean? But that's not going to happen. And so I think part of it is that I've allowed myself here more recently to just try to be more in the moment. You know what I mean? And that's helped me tap into a little bit of that more. I don't think any of us are incapable of experiencing those types of things anymore, but I think that as you get older, you get set in your ways. That's very true. You don't like your routines to be disrupted. I hate when my routines get disrupted. But every so often, things that I get excited about, and then the day of dread, which is pretty much constantly, when I push through that, I find that it was worth it. You know what I mean? Not always. Sometimes, like, yeah, I was right. I should have just stayed home. But I don't think you're incapable.
Well, I agree somewhat, because with this scenario, we went, now granted, I did not eat or drink all day, so that I didn't have to pee or use the bathroom, because once you're in the pit, I don't want to have to leave. And we had, we were with, I was with Sade, and then she had a friend there that was younger than her, and like their parents were like, watch my kid. And so I was like scared to death to like make sure their kid's not in trouble. So,
pro tip, you never have to leave the pit to pee. Dark jeans. Dark jeans are your friend.
But it was, I stood for over 5 hours. My back was killing me. My feet were killing me. Of course, I am old and morbidly obese, so that doesn't help. But it was a spectacular show that I've never seen the likes of before. I thoroughly enjoyed it. And that's what I was saying. I can enjoy things tremendously. I don't get excited for them at this point. However, the whole reason for me kind of bringing that up was because of when we do go to BGG, and that's the only place I've ever been to at this point. Jerry can't, he dies our tree, good for him. And that's all I have as a reference point. I do get, I guess the term is excited, but not like 17, 18-year-old excited. But playing games does excite me, being, days. And I don't know what excites me more is playing games or the fact that I don't have to work today. Like, it's like I can put off all the stresses of, everyday life and I'm going to go and relax all day. I think that's what excites me. Although I do enjoy playing games, or I'm sure it's a combination of all these things.
Well, I think the thing about like similar with motivation and taking action, the motivation comes after the fact that you start taking the action. I think that the kind of the excitement or the anticipation comes after you have committed to doing the thing, like you're involved in it. That's what's well, like you were pointing out, I wasn't particularly excited or anticipating the retreat. I was in a way I was planning for it, but as soon as I got there, that's when I was excited. I mean, that's when I enjoyed myself. And so I think if you're just, and I don't want to be excited for something weeks or days in advance. I just want to plan for it. When I get there, that's what I want to enjoy.
It's not a particularly useful emotion, really.
No.
And probably it's not. Half the reason we you don't get excited at this age is because you're also kind of semi-preparing yourself for disappointment. I mean the opposite of excitement is disappointment, isn't it? And we've all been excited for something and then had crushing disappointment. Whereas if we've been vaguely looking forward to something and then it's even better than we thought, well, this is like the pessimist in me coming out. But I plan for the worst and hope for the best. That's all my.
I agree with Dan on that.
Right.
When you're 17, you haven't been beaten down,
exactly
crushed with your face smashed into the curb by life.
We've all been
excited
for something and then been disappointed. And I tell you what, there's not many feelings worse than that. And so it's probably a subconscious, natural kind of protection of because I don't think excitement is a particularly pleasant. Being really excited for something is not a particularly pleasant, because you're waiting for something, aren't you?
I've heard.
I'd much rather be enjoying something in the moment than be excited for something in the
I've
future.
heard in
Excitement
psychology,
and anxiety are very close.
That's what I was fixing to say. Like in psychology, they say fear and excitement are basically the same emotion.
Yeah, I can see that. They have similar bodily responses. For me, explosive diarrhea and vomiting. Yeah. So
I can't tell if he's excited or scared.
Well, I vomited with
Bacon creddies, huh?
I've vomited with excitement before.
Speaking of excitement, there's one thing I'm excited about, folks, and that's playing I Made You a Mixtape.
I just want
Seamless.
What
Seamless.
a segue. Look, if you can't go from explosive diarrhea and projectile vomiting into I Made You a Mixtape any better than that, you just can't do it.
We refuse to go on any podcast. That's our gold. That's our baseline for accepting guesting on podcasts. Yeah.
All right. So at the Dice Tower retreat, both designers were there. Now,
yes.
How are you going in just alphabetical order so that no one's offended? But even at that, it's like somebody's got to come first. Is it Mike Delizio
last names,
and right? Dan Hughes? Dan Hughes.
I think it's Mike Delizio and also Dan Hughes, or with Dan Hughes, I think is what it is.
Featuring.
Special guest star.
Should have done.
I came second in the podcast when we first set it up, and Mike was nobody then, absolutely nobody. So it's
less
not
than zero.
It's weird. It's like with husband and wife, or whatever couple you may have, and it's like so and so and so and so. It's like some of it just flows better than the other. With Mike and Dan, if I say Dan and Mike, it sounds weird.
My last podcast was Lee and Dan, so I'm always last. It doesn't bother me at all.
So when you say board game snobs with, what do y'all say?
Board game snobs, turn it off. That's what I say.
It's so funny because it's you two are clearly the show, right? But I don't think of your show as the combination of you two specific individuals.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know how else to put that. I don't personify.
We are the snobs.
The show like that. Yeah. Just this collective is the snobs. I think
this morass. I'd describe it as a morass.
That's fair.
Morass.
This
Southern American
bubbling quagmire.
Yeah.
This festering swamp.
All right. Mixtape, guys. Mixtape.
Okay.
Okay, yeah. Let's
So
focus.
here we
Let's
are. We're privileged to have Sir Daniel Hughes and Senior Michael DeLizio on our
focus.
podcast.
That was just the way of saying senior, isn't it? You meant senior, is what you meant.
I'm Hispanic. I'm
Oh.
allowed.
Very good.
So and then Jerry Baker having the privilege of being a noob to the game, and he doesn't like I split you choose games. Shocker.
Oh.
I do.
Excellent.
I do. How dare
This
you?
is the one element of gaming you like.
No, yes. There's
You
several games
hate
that I like.
every other mechanism, but just because the
dice
designers
placement
are here,
and
you
trick
don't have to
taking.
try to impress them.
No.
We both want legitimate responses. Yeah.
Okay.
Yes. So this was the last
On
game
this
of the con I
promotional
played.
podcast.
This was the last
Okay.
game of the con that I played, and I was panicked because I thought I wasn't going to get a chance, and I didn't play it with Dan. I thought, well, I was trying to catch another illustrious member of the Dice Tower crew that was teaching it, which was Jason Levine, because he apparently was quite into the game, and I thought, well, I'll play it with Jason, and then maybe that way, if it's a snooze fest, I can just say, oh, Jason taught it wrong or something.
Right.
But
right.
no.
Oh, that's smart.
It's-
That would have been a good plan.
That was my plan, but instead, the last day, like the last hour I had of the con, I found Mike. And it's like I need to. Well, this is the last game. I haven't got to play it. I'd like to. So myself, Richard Lapino, which Dick Wolf played as well, and yeah, I think I set the new world record in scoring on it. I think I set like some sort of
crushed.
yes,
Yeah,
but
you crushed.
I will say that that's what's interesting is that the theme is not necessarily something that's appealing to me. Like I'm not a big music fan. I listen to music, but I'm not one of those go to concert nostalgic type. So the theme was not something that drew me in. So I was not necessarily one of the people that would like something just because of the theme. So I was looking at it purely from the mechanism standpoint, and it's very simple. Take 3 cards, you cut, you choose, you hand it to one person, and there you go. You're trying to set them up to where they select the cards that you don't want and keep the set of cards that you do want. And that little one main mechanism sets forth this whole cascade of having to balance the neat little mixed track that you have there, trying to make sure you don't have one side, the A track or the B track side of it, one too long, having too many songs on one side or the other, and that scores you points. And then the set collection aspect of it, that scores you points. And then the little what's the thing on the cassette tapes?
Slow.
The flow. Yes, the flow. You're trying to match these sets up so that they flow correctly with the tapes themselves. And it has that kind of like building building the streets in Sprawlopolis. That was like one of my favorite little solo games where you're trying to make sure the cards are laid down just correctly. You're doing the same thing with the tapes. And so you're scoring points for however many songs flow into each other. And so those 3 things are what you're trying to balance, and it made perfect sense. And that my I cut you choose thing is one of my favorite mechanics actually, and so that spoke to me. And the keeping of the balance, balancing something, that's another mechanic and element that I like in a game. And so it just hit right for me for some reason, and I don't know what.
Of the 2 I Split You Choose games I know you've played, which I don't think we've played that many, and maybe you've played some on your own. You got Hanamakoji, you got I Split, I Made You a Mixtape.
Which I love.
Would you call I Made You a Mixtape the next step of I Split You Choose?
Yes. What was
So-
the other game that you mentioned?
Hanamakoji.
What was the other game? You said 2.
Those were the 2. I mentioned 2 games.
Oh, I thought you.
Yeah.
No.
Those are the
But
only 2.
no.
Hanamakoji is the only I Split You Choose game I think I've played.
I was considering like stockpile, where you're making stockpiles and you're putting something out there going, oh, I hope this person chooses this
Well, yeah,
stockpile.
that's true.
That type thing.
Oh,
And
neither of you have played Piece of Cake or Slice of Pizza or The Great Split.
mm-mm.
That's what I'm saying.
Okay.
It's pretty new to us.
Yeah, there's several of them and that mechanism. I think I was talking with Dan at the retreat about certain mechanisms that I really like. We talked about Gold West, about the Moncala aspect in that's something that's underutilized. And I think the I split you choose mechanism is underutilized in comparison to. And I think also as I just had played a bunch of drafting games just right before I played Mixtape, and I think that there are times where yes, drafting works in this particular aspect. I like the splitting and the choosing because the person that I was playing against, it was very easy for me to kind of glance over and see what he needed and go, okay, this is my opponent the rest of the game. And so I'm looking at Chris the whole time, Chrissy, and going, okay, this is what he needs, and I need this. So I'm gonna give him this single. I'm gonna give him a card I know he wants, so I can keep these two that I know that he'll give back. So there's only was like one or two times throughout the game where he kind of went the opposite direction, where he chose something that I thought that, well, I kind of set you up. You know, he gave me something back that I did not want.
Where you were like, "Ha, you fool!"
Yes, but for the rest of the time, it was me. Like I knew, okay, he's going to take this. I'm going to make him take this. He's going to want this, and making him an offer he can't refuse. And so that, and you having to juggle that, plus look at the balance of the tracks, keep that just right. Because I was way over to one side until the latter half of the game, and I was able to straighten out my balance on the tracks, and then the flow of it. That's it's all very difficult to do, and to juggle that and the set collection. So you're doing several things all at once, but it's just through that simple mechanic of I'm splitting and you're choosing, and that's what I liked about it. It was just one straightforward mechanism that anybody can understand, but now juggle this balance and this flow and the set collection.
And Jerry's words to me were, "I'm so angry they have made such a good game." He absolutely,
That's huge. That's high compliment.
I'm not joking. He said, "I'm so angry this game is this good." He really liked I Made You a Mixtape, and Jerry doesn't mince words.
Nice.
He doesn't.
Really is,
he doesn't cater. He doesn't schmooze. Although with Tom, apparently his new best friend, he does.
But he and Tom get along great.
With I Made You a Mixtape, he had rave reviews for y'all off mic. Just saying.
Well, the last time this happened, we had Dan on the show, and he was going on, and I made a mention about, I'd like to make a board game, and Dan says, I have no interest in doing that. Literally got off the podcast and started making a board game.
It was literally, yeah. It was the
Like,
very next day. You
like the
gave me
next
the idea
day.
to do it.
Yeah. And it's yes. And I'm like, and then also I'm like, well, this is gonna suck. This is not gonna. I'll do it with my daughter, and I'll do all this. And then I watched this whole Kickstarter thing go on, and the whole time thinking, oh, this is genius. This is how you do it. People are submitting artwork and all this, and then the game came out, and I'm like, oh, the game's gonna suck. It's gotta suck. It's got a soundtrack.
The thing.
Voicing. And like the whole game just made me angry, and you make your own characters. I'm sitting there going, this is the quintessential dungeon crawl thing for kids. And I'm like, well, okay. But I gave him that idea somehow. I inspired Dan.
You
So that's what I
him.
like to think that we do here. We inspire people.
So,
Yeah.
and also the what y'all have struck upon, as Mike mentioned in his post a few weeks ago, is that I Made You a Mixtape, even the Facebook group, you've struck on this nostalgia thing, and it's a huge, whether it lasts or not. I think nostalgia is always going to be huge because it's just what people like. I Made You a Mixtape. I remember I didn't make a mixtape because I didn't have any girlfriends at that age to express my love to, but I did record things randomly off the radio. I would press the record button and hold it up to the speaker, so that you can get that in there. And I was always looking for this one in particular. I believe it was the Police song, but I never have figured it out to this day, and it haunts me still. But anyway, yeah, nostalgia is
I could
huge.
probably help you, Gabi. Huge fan
I know
of
you
Police.
could.
Is there anything you can tell me about this song?
No, it's too far gone. I just remember being a child and having a feeling in my heart. And but yeah,
Every little thing she does is magic.
that may be it. I think there was a color involved, like red. Anyway. Okay. So not to get sidetracked.
Don't stand next to the red light.
Not to get sidetracked.
Roxanne!
Well, the Roxanne, you don't have to put on the red light, but that's
That's what I said.
early.
Yeah.
But
y'all, I think this is going to be huge for y'all. I hope it's huge for y'all. I know it's going to be a success. Also, the fact that it's strictly card based, I think keeping that, overhead low is a fantastic idea. I'm really happy for y'all, and I'm happy that, we can, if anyone buys a game or two because of us, I'm happy.
Well, I appreciate both Jerry's feedback because I know it is sincere. If he didn't like the game, he'd find a way to make it funny, but still make it clear, hey, this wasn't for me, type of a thing. So I do appreciate that. I know it's genuine. And then for Gabi, a lot of the feedback that's come from people that have played the game is they want to make it this $60 Kickstarter experience. Right? They're like, oh, you should have this mechanical box that you press a button and it opens. And I'm like, yeah, that'd be amazing. You should do this. Yeah, that would be great. But you know what? It's a card game. Yeah. And we want to keep it accessible. We want to make it available to as many people that might be interested in it. We're just not, that's not what we're trying to do with this game. Like, who knows the future? Maybe we'll do something over the top, but this isn't it. This is a card game. It's about 30 minutes to play, generally 30 to 45 minutes. And we really didn't want to go crazy. But what makes me happy when people are suggesting those things is because they're excited by the game and they want it to have this huge presence. I'm hoping, and I think I can speak for Dan here, that the game will be enough, right? That the experience around the table will be enough that you don't need the over the top kind of blingy stuff.
But you should put a massive asterisk to that statement just in case on the next Kickstarter you want to have the whole cassette tape and the whole 9 yards and release that along with there you go, third edition Horror Quest.
It can have a genre pack maybe that's small enough that can fit in a cassette case. Who knows? But Dan, you were going to say something.
I just it's been one of my things. I mean, we talk about inclusivity in board gaming, and one of the groups. Socioeconomic is a massive factor in my opinion, and people can get priced out of board gaming and all these massive Kickstarters and things. I'm not saying we're changing the world or anything like that, but we're very keen that this is a project like Core Quest before that's kind of community focused, and it's two friends trying to make a board game. It's not two friends trying to pretend to be a huge corporation and trying to pretend that we're something we're not. Really, it's just two amateurs. Three amateurs.
I'm going to make a nostalgia reference in regards to what you're doing. That if you know, you could be the wild stallions of board gaming.
Exactly.
Could be.
Hopefully slightly better than the Wild Stallions.
That's true. Yeah.
Yeah. But
I appreciate the sentiment though. Yes.
Yeah, exactly. Just having a go at putting a board game out and caring about it and making it a passion project. Don't get me wrong. It's not like we've spent hours and hours and hours on it. I mean, a long time over the last 2 years. More than I ever did before.
And Jerry raved about the art as well.
Yeah. Gary knows what he's doing. Yeah. And the fact that it's the same artist who did Core Quest and the complete difference in style it kind of astounds me. Really, he's able to kind of turn on the sixpence like that. But yeah. So I don't know what I'm saying, but yeah, we don't want to make we don't want to bling it out unnecessarily so we can charge another $10 for it. That's not what we're about. We're about putting out a game that's worth what you pay for it.
Yeah, it's a card game, so we are going with high quality cards, right? I mean, so the things that matter for the usability of the game, we're not compromising on those, but we can still do that with a reasonable price point.
Yeah, we're doing the most expensive thing of every option.
Yeah,
but still making an affordable game, and the postage is going to be cheap too, especially to the US. It's going to be like $4.
Oh yeah, with a card game. That's another thing. I think that's like Button Shy and their whole thing of having small.
Huge difference though, because they're in little wallets, right? We're going to be in a box, and it's just that we're partnering with Allplay. So for the distribution and the delivery, and so we're following their shipping model of $4, and it doesn't even matter how many copies of the game you buy. It's just $4. in the U.S. and pretty reasonable in most other parts.
Yeah, it gets a bit more expensive, unfortunately, elsewhere, but fairly reasonable elsewhere. Yeah.
Mhm.
Well, Allplay has that figured out. with the
Well,
little
I
card
look,
games.
I look forward to the expansion featuring gaping crannies. So that'd be nice to see.
Yeah.
Well, there's a mini
Here
expansion
you go,
coming
Dan.
to Kickstarter where you can write down your own bands and write them on, have your own tracks in the game. So gaping crannies can be in yours.
The board game snobs have created 2 fake bands, so I think they might have to be on there somewhere. All
I
right.
agree.
Well,
Snake rectum.
I think it should.
I mean, unless y'all have anything further else to say in regards to the retreat, in regards to I made you a mixtape.
Only
Well,
that if you're interested in following the Kickstarter, I'm hoping Gabby will put the link to our Kickstarter preview page below. But also, if you're not near anywhere where you can click on that, if you're driving something, if you remember Massive Asterix, which is Mike's publishing company, massiveasterix.com,
And it's
then you go-
available on Tabletop Simulator if you want to play it now.
Mhm.
Michael,
Big given.
any final words or thoughts?
No, just appreciate you giving us a platform to come on and talk. And more importantly, it's good to get and talk to both of you again. You were sorely missed at the retreat, in all seriousness, I think, amongst all of us. So yeah, I'm still gutted that we've not met in person, Gabi. It's going to be one of those weird things where I'm, feel like I've known you for years, and it's going to be weird seeing you in person.
It's going to be weird because I'm going to twirl you about when I do see you. I hope you expect that.
I will be very disappointed if you don't.
I'm not going to see anybody because I'm not going to be there next year. This is distressing.
Oh.
Yes. there wasn't a moment where people didn't say, "Oh, I wish Gabby was here and I wish Jerry wasn't." So,
Mhm.
so yeah.
Well, that's good. I'm glad. Jerry is, Jerry's a great human being. He's been a good friend to me, and I was glad he was able
That's a
to
weird phrase.
represent the board game snobs in a good way. And I think part of
No,
that
he
was the
certainly
fact that he stayed away from the hard stuff, if you know what I'm saying.
Yes.
So
Hey, I'm clean living,
He
being
had a
friendly to
couple of-
others.
whatever. What are you
I've
drinking
been in
right
some too,
now,
but-
Jerry? What are you drinking right now?
No, I'm drinking a Guinness. I had just
okay.
for
All right.
Dan. That's a
One last
thing
quick
that I-
thing here, Jerry. You're now locked in. You've got a spot in the retreat if you choose to use it. You said you've already bought tickets. for next
I've already
year.
got my ticket and I've already got my room.
All right.
Yeah,
Are you in
never gonna
for?
give you up.
think for the foreseeable future? You think?
I canceled our we typically go to BGG twice a year. We go to the spring and the fall, and I already canceled the fall. So we're just,
My
we'll just go in the
goodness.
spring. And so yes, I'm all in. I've drank the Kool-Aid, unfortunately. I don't know what happened. But yes,
Well, it gets
yes, 'cause
better the longer it ages.
I made too many new friends and had too much of a great
He had
experience.
I don't know that he said enough about and of course we are going to wrap this up, but Bruce Schwering, I'm not
Bruce.
sure. I've never met you, my dear fellow. You're a recent member of the Board Game Snobs Facebook group. He's like, "Oh, I've met Jerry. I'm going to join and maybe start listening."
Yeah.
Great to have you listening. I have seen his post throughout Sporadically Board and Dice Tower, I believe. But Jerry was a big fan of Bruce, a big fan of Dick Wolf, aka Richard Lupino, several other people, and it was just nice that sometimes it's scary to meet people in real life. You're like, you know, they're not gonna really want. I thought they were going to be that, but all these people, everyone there, Jerry had a wonderful thing to say about them. It was very nice, and that's unusual these days, unfortunately.
It is.
Bruce is a star, absolute star.
And as for
He's
the
a
Dice
good guy.
Tower, Chris Yee's number one.
Yeah, I was
Yeah,
there when
right.
he anointed them.
He was the last one I played a game with. I had just made the comment that I had played a game with everybody, and he's the only one I didn't catch. And he happened by the table, shook his hand, said something to me. I mentioned that. He came back and we played a game, and then that was it. We may have started our own cult. And
Okay.
yeah. Dan's a part of. We're shooting the
Oh,
secret
geez.
handshake right now.
What game was this?
It was
Rainbow.
Rainbow.
It was
All
really good.
play. And it was
Fantastic, yeah.
it did not look like it's just a game with a bunch of rainbows and unicorns on it, and I did not expect it to be that good. But at 1:00 in the morning, it got really good.
Mhm.
And then Chris invented a secret handshake, for which we then decided that we were going to make some sort of blood pact with everyone at the table. And
It's a
there we go.
motorcycle gang, isn't it?
Yes,
Isn't that what we're in?
it's
Yeah.
yes, it's the milkman of the bovine rainbow mob, I think, is what the name we settled on. We've thrown around different, but we do have the secret handshake, and it's a thing.
It's so secret you've shown it to Godwin and I several times in the last minute.
Yeah.
Well, you don't know the second half of the handshake. You don't know the second half of the handshake, which completes it.
Yeah.
After looking at the first half, I'm not so sure I need to know the second half.
Okay.
I think I can figure it out.
I think Jerry also may have touched upon a good name for a future publishing company if they so decide is 1 a.m. Games.
Oh,
1 a.m. games. Yeah.
1 a.m. game. Okay. Sure.
It's
Yeah.
you know, as they that falls in the beer and pretzels
Actually-
genre.
Actually, that's a fantastic name because you definitely are not going to be able to have people saying, "What does I am games mean?"
That's
So
true.
go with that, Jerry. It's a $1 million idea.
All
I
right.
suggest that you just trademark it right now.
Maybe.
Done.
Maybe.
All right. Well, this has been a wonderful episode, despite, you know, a somewhat rough start of getting 4 people on 4 different streams going and Jerry cutting in and out and blasting us through the eardrums of his whatever gaming
Wow.
device his son Jack has decided to acquire with his $20
You stole my
allowance.
microphone. You have my microphone.
You gave it to me in the bag
That's-
of microphones.
That's our next game, actually, Dan and I. It's called "You Stole My Microphone."
Yeah.
We're working on it right now. So
Always an inspiration, Jerry. So pleasure to have you
Yes.
here with us
Yeah.
today.
Looking forward to the next one. What other
I'll
else?
tell you what happened though on the flight home is Evan invented his own game about baggage smuggling through customs. So look for that one.
Yeah. Well, I got caught
Yeah.
at customs. I thought, which caused quite the kerfuffle, because apparently the Orlando security had a problem with my shampoo. I had too much shampoo, but I didn't know that was a problem because I transported from Dallas. But when it went through security, I could see the little screen that the TSA person was looking at, and they looked at my one carry-on, the one bag I had with me. And in that bag was the recording equipment that Gabi had sent, begging me to please do a podcast with Dan Hughes, which I didn't get to do. But in that bag were 2 microphones, 2 SM58 Shure microphones that looked particularly odd when they're being x-rayed. And so I thought that they were pulling my bag out to inspect. And as they're getting it out, I'm going, oh, okay, yeah, those are 2 microphones, by the way. And the lady just kind of looked at me like I protest too much. I said, oh, the other thing that's in there is a board game. There's a board game in there, a little small one from the exchange. And then I realized I didn't actually open that board game up, and it was huge. Maybe there's meth or knives in it. That would be a bad that would be a bad trick to play on somebody. But no, it turned out to just be a shampoo and not the methamphetamines that were in that copy of.
That is a good idea for the next board game exchange, though. The old knives, the knives in the highly desirable box.
I have a copy. I've already thought this out. I have a copy of Curious Cargo that's opened. I'm going to put that in the exchange and just put a bunch of knives in it and razor blades. Just see who wins it, and just laugh. See if they play that.
Dan, I have a name for Evan's game before we go. It's called Baggage Lame.
Baggage Lame.
You like that? Instead of
that's a
Baggage
good one.
Lame?
That's a
Baggage
good one.
Lame?
Yeah.
I'm not sure you should call
You
it
can
game
have that
lane.
for $1,500.
All right,
$1,500,
okay.
you can have that name.
$2,500. I'll review it.
Full circle.
Full circle.
All right, and that's going to do it for this episode. Thank you ever so much, Spobo / Massive Asterisk Games / coming to a Kickstarter near you. I made you a Mixtakes Games. Dan Hughes
November.
and Michael
November
DeLizio. Daniel
November 4th.
Hughes.
Thank you, John.
Michael DeLizio, and Gerald Baker. Thank you for being on this episode of the Board Game Stomps podcast. I will say thank you, Dan.
It was your
Dan. I know you had a hard day at work, Dan, and I'm glad you. I don't know the words I'm saying. I'm glad you made it through so far.
He's recovered.
I've recovered completely from my hard day at work.
Your voice, that's pleasant to my right ear, I must say.
Now,
I don't think you're supposed to suck in saliva at the end of an ASMR, are you?
It was sounding really nice, Daniel. Just saying. Now you've ruined it. You've ruined it. All right. Go Fins and go
got
Cowboys. All right.
Wasn't
So,
looking
guys, Daniel, say goodbye.
Goodbye, Gabby.
Oh, that's so pleasant to my right ear. My right cochlea.
Goodbye.
Michael Delizio, say goodbye.
Garbage.
Not so pleasant to my right cochlea. And Gerald Baker, say goodbye.
Goodbye. Gabi.
Oh, I love the use of my name there. And that's going to do it for me as well. Thank you for listening to this episode of Sporadically Board Game Snobs. Bye-bye.
Thank you for tolerating this episode of the Board Game Snobs. Stay classy.